Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Finally, it is end of the week, and although it depends, of course, what you do, where you work. In the last 3 4 weeks, I didn't had a like Saturday off, right? So maybe I'll do Saturday off. By the way, it depends how much or how many pints of beer I'm gonna have after this live stream. If few, then tomorrow I'm working. If more than 10, then maybe not. But yeah, I need to have a little break, by the way, stay away from news for a day at least. Anyways, dear friends, thank you all for joining today's stream. It is the 3rd of July, of course, 3 p.m. Moscow time, middle of the day. And as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments that Russian media and public is paying attention to. And in case you find this news program interesting, informative, please like the video. Can we reach 300 likes for God's sake? There is I don't know, 1,000, 2,000, sometimes even like more thousand views, and there are not that many likes really. While I don't know, man, I just watched live stream on Duran, right? And I did not wait until the end of the video. I just opened the video, click that freaking like, because I know it might help, right? So if you can, please do that, dear friends. Like the video, leave some commentary, and and if they're gonna be, I mean, just let me remind you that you can initiate conversation with friends on any topic, on any topic. On Sundays we have a community chat, of course, big community chat where I'm joining chat. But in work days, during the working days, from Monday to Friday, you can initiate conversation about any topic. You just have to send your question or the commentary through super chat on Rumble or PayPal or Boosty platforms, by the way, and I will of course react on it. And so yes, without further delay, let's go through some news, man. I'm already tired. I'm already tired and little scared because update is big, man. There's a lot of freaking news. Lot is going on, isn't it? And so without further delay, let's start. And let's start with the good news first. And the good news is that Russian Defense Ministry announced today liberation of Alexandrovka settlement in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Very significant progress of the Russian armed forces, I think, in this direction, in Dnipropetrovsk direction, because it looks like Russian troops are basically finalizing advances alongside of Volchia River. And if you take a look at the settlement, where the Dnipropetrovsk, man, let me find it first. Yeah, that's it, right? So when you zoom in, dear friends, you can see that on one side, on the left bank of the Volchia River, there is this Alexandrovka settlement, and on the right bank of the river is Pokrovskaya settlement, which is bigger, but nevertheless, I think at this point, intent of Russian militaries in Dnipropetrovsk direction is to establish full control over the left bank of the Volchia River, and they are successfully doing so. I remind you, dear friends, that this week alone, Russian militaries liberated 4 settlements in eastern flank of Zaporozhye sector, and 3 settlements in Dnipropetrovsk region, right? This is the 3rd one or 4th one. Also, this Alexandrovka. So good news there. Progress. Unfortunately, we did not yet receive their update from Defense Ministry about liberation of Konstantinovka, full liberation of Konstantinovka and Slavyansk. Of course, everybody is waiting, by the way, this news. Everybody is waiting this news. It's a clearing operation on its final stages, and it is understandable that Russian militaries want to take time to finalize this clearing operation in Konstantinovka and also in Liman, by the way, another former stronghold of Kiev regime. And I guess it's going to happen soon, man. It's going to happen soon when we will receive announcement that these 2 former major strongholds of Kiev regime are under Russian control now. And when it comes to DPR, dear friends, Russian troops are basically on outskirts of last major fortified area of Kiev regime and their NATO backers, Kramatorsk-Slaviansk agglomeration. Right. Also, lately, I see there are no much attention in the media, even in alternative media, towards developments in Kupiansk direction. Probably everybody's tired to hear about Kupiansk by now, but well, Russian troops are advancing. Russian troops are advancing slowly but surely, right? And when it comes to Kupiansk, which is Kharkov region, right, significant portion of this city, most of these cities actually become under full Russian control again, second time or third time now, right? Without any noise in the media about it, right? No much talk is going on. Russian troops, they're doing their job, moving forward, advancing, and finalizing clearing operation. And well, Kiev regime sacrificed, dear friends, Kiev regime sacrificed thousands of its troops while attempting to hold on to Kupiansk and surrounding areas. And well, I guess battle for Kupiansk is also nearing to its end, and maybe not simultaneously with Konstantinovka and Liman, but shortly after, we're definitely going to receive update that Kupiansk is also under full Russian control. Russian troops are advancing, dear friends, all along the front line, with the exception of most western flank of Zaporozhye sector, where for quite a while, for the last 2, even 3 months, one might say, Kiev regime was conducting these constant suicidal counterattacks, and Russian militaries used this opportunity quite well, right, to lure in as much enemy forces as possible in Stepnogorsk area, right, Primorsk area, Stepnogorsk area, and to eliminate these forces, right? And God knows how many troops, how many thousands of troops Kiev regime actually lost in this direction. Clearly, lately, it looks like Kiev regime's forces just fully run out of steam here. And I expect in next week or two, Russian militaries to begin reclaiming all the territories that from which they withdraw due to this mobile defense tactics, while creating these traps for Kiev regime's forces, right? Because yet again, Kiev regime is still able, on one direction or through another, to infiltrate the area, but they are losing so many troops that they are not capable of hold on to these territories. So in 2-3 weeks' time, we're gonna see advances of the Russian forces again in the most western flank of Zaporozhye region, and not just in Stepnogorsk and Primorsk, but I think this summer we might even see Russian advances towards Zaporozhye city itself, which is, of course, administrative center of Zaporozhye region. So good news is coming from there. Earlier, dear friends, I reported yesterday, literally, that Piskunovka was liberated in DPR. Just this week, Russian troops liberated about dozen settlements on different sectors of the front line. 3 or 4 settlements in Zaporozhye region, east of flank of Zaporozhye, 3 or 4 settlements in Dnipropetrovsk region. There were settlements that were liberated in Kharkov region and DPR. So progress continues, and Russian troops are advancing in the Sumy region too, by the way. Let's not forget about it. Now some other news, and probably you already heard, dear friends, that there was a sort of a standoff between Russian and German navies, warships, right, of 2 navies in the Baltics. This happened on June 30th, but information became available about this situation just now. And let me give you some details about this situation. A Russian corvette drove off, basically, German Coast Guard from an oil tanker that this Russian corvette was escorting, I guess, right? This happened in the Finnish. This happened according to Finnish newspaper Iltalehti. In an area of Fehmarn Belt Strait. I don't know where this freaking Fehmarn Belt Strait is, honestly, by the way. I think I'm not that bad in geography, but I definitely don't know everything. So it must be somewhere in the Baltics, right? But let's go through details anyways. Incident involving Russian military ship and the German Coast Guard vessel occurred in the Baltics, according to this Finnish Iltalehti newspaper. On the morning of June 13, the tanker Kira K was passing through this Fehmarn Belt Strait with a cargo of more than 100,000 tons of Russian crude oil. German Coast Guard Barrett or something like that approached the scene, approached the area where this Russian tanker was, and soon after, Russian corvette Сообразительный approached the same area, right? Approached this basically this German Coast Guard. Сообразительный warned German vessel about the need to move away from the tanker and pushed the German Coast Guard ship away. After the incident, the tanker Kira K continued its journey towards the Danish Strait. And I believe there was no reports, isn't it, that this particular tanker was either harassed after that or detained or hijacked by NATO member states. So probably this vessel continues its journey towards its destination. So interesting situation there in the Baltics. You know, dear friends, I have said many times before that one of the places where we might see direct clashes between Russian and the NATO militaries is the Baltic Sea, right? Because of this extremely insane behavior of the Western ruling class, leadership of NATO member states, and the extreme militarization of the Baltics itself. And well, I would not say that necessarily that on 30th of June, NATO and Russia become extremely or closest ever to direct confrontation, but there was a possibility, right? If German Coast Guard didn't understood from the first time that they had to disappear from the area, then who knows, man? Maybe captain of Russian corvette will say, you know what, let's sink these motherfuckers. I mean, anything might happen to her. Everybody is on nerves, right? And it is good that nothing happened, no shots were fired, and the German crew was wise enough to get out from the area, not even to attempt hijacking that Russian vessel. But now, German side, probably German leadership, German militaries probably feel being humiliated, and therefore, in next week or two, I think they're gonna go for another attempt, right, to hijack, harass, or even hijack a vessel that is either under the Russian flag or linked to Russia. And yet again, man, God knows what's going to happen, but Baltics definitely the area where we might see first direct clashes, open clashes between NATO militaries and the Russian militaries. First open because Russian militaries already eliminated hundreds and hundreds of thousands potentially of NATO militaries in the Q control in a zone of special military operation. But that was not open clashes, right? Those NATO troops were designated as mercenaries, as this and that, but and while taking losses, it was kind of not officially NATO troops, right? One day we're gonna learn how many of those, or how many soldiers and officers NATO countries lost in this undeclared war. A lot, I think. It is good that Russian Navy is becoming more active to protect commercial shipping, commercial navigation, and also it is worth highlighting that according to number of media outlets, including Western media outlets, vessels, tankers, for example, that are linked to Russia, being seen equipped with heavy machine guns and other defensive equipment, which clearly indicates that quite an increasing number of these commercial vessels being protected by potentially even Russian regular militaries, but most likely by PMCs. There is even videos, by the way, and photo materials when you can see these heavy machine guns all around the tankers, right? Maybe it's too late, but better late than never, right? So we have to protect freedom of navigation. We have to protect our assets, and if necessary, we have to do what is necessary, right? If necessary, we have to do what is necessary. Yeah, okay. If necessary, we have to sink NATO warships, man. That's what I meant, right? If they are dumb enough not to understand that they should not act as a freaking pirates in 21st century. Anyways, also, let's continue with some good news. During the nighttime, according to a number of media reports, Russian militaries continue long-range attacks on military, logistical, and infrastructure of their enemy, hostile side, also energy infrastructure of hostile side that is linked to military operations of Kyiv regime and its NATO backers. And well, explosions were heard, for example, in Chernigov, Kherson, Sumy, Dnipropetrovsk regions, in Zaporozhye region, Nikolaev region, by the way, Odessa region. So Russian militaries, I mean, on daily basis, conducting these long-range attacks. It's not like there's only one attack once in a month, isn't it? Yes, yesterday there was a big attack when about 70, 80 missiles were deployed, right, and hundreds of drones. But usually 100, 200 drones or a couple of missiles are launched literally every day, every night. And that's the result. And when it comes to consequences, I mentioned Zaporozhye, isn't it? And well, Russian military is going after military, logistical, and energy infrastructure of the regime in the Zaporozhye region, big time, by the way. Right now on your screen, you can see some of the aftermath, the smoke and all that stuff from areas that was targeted there in the Zaporozhye region. Also, Nova Pochta warehouse, another one, was destroyed there in the Zaporozhye region by Russian long-range attacker. And you know, dear friends, this Nova Pochta is not like civilian logistical company. It's a company that is totally militarized and used by Kyiv regime to transfer weapons, transfer even drones, tanks, armored vehicles. By the way, I have seen videos and photos, right, when Nova Pochta, these long trucks, are carrying freaking infantry fighting vehicles. So, of course, they are a legit target, right, in that case. And that's why Russian militaries are eliminating this company, erasing this company from existence. Good, for sure, good. And as I said, energy infrastructure, of course, plays key role for logistics of enemy. And in the Zaporozhye region, Russian militaries find another fuel storage facility too. And this facility soon was eliminated by Russian ground drones that are equipped with their cameras and are directed in real time. And this type of videos, when this generation of ground drones this new generation of ground drones are deployed, are coming more and more, or published more and more, which is a good news on its own, because that clearly indicates that Russian companies advanced significantly when it comes to satellite satellite navigation, when it comes to satellite internet. And soon after special military operation will end, I'm quite sure, maybe not even one or two, but several Russian companies will begin introducing to public their alternative of American Starlink, right? Good, great. And should I have, I guess at this point I don't even have to say that throughout the left bank of the Dnieper River, dozens at this point, hundreds, I guess, already. Gas stations were destroyed, eliminated by Russian militaries, gas stations that are used by Ukrainian forces to refuel their military vehicles, and everything else. Left bank of the Dnieper River basically is somewhat isolated already from rest of the Kiev controlled territory, which is definitely good news. It makes easier for Russian troops to operate on the battlefield to deal with their hostile side. Although when it comes to war, by the way, nothing is easy. We all understand, right? No wonder, due to constant setbacks on the battlefield, well, more and more citizens of Ukraine are in full support of end of this conflict as soon as possible, and even Western propaganda outlets and Western so-called research institutes have to forced to acknowledge this change in the mindset of many citizens of Ukraine. And we have today information about a survey conducted by American Gallup Institute, according to which 66% of citizens of Ukraine that participated in this survey believe that Ukraine should seek negotiate and the ending of the war as soon as possible. Of course, globalists not gonna listen to opinion of Ukrainian citizens. Globalists see Ukrainian citizens as a meat, literally as a meat. That's all, right? But for us, this is important, right? For us, this is interesting news to have a good understanding what people think there, right? And well, if you ignore the propaganda, then well, if Gallup is saying 66% is for ending of this war, then I guess in reality this number is like 80%, 90%, right? There are no less and less appetite among this largely brainwashed mass under controlled territory to fight Russia, because many of them understand. Many of them see difference, by the way, in attitude that they received from Russians and from the Westerners. And they know for sure now that for the Western elites, and for many Westerners too, by the way, they are just a meat, right? Just a meat, while Russians were treating them as a brothers. There is a big difference, isn't it? Big difference. Also, Economist is reporting that, and this is, I don't know what to make of it. Probably this is deception, some sort of a deception, but Economist is saying that US is allegedly afraid of escalation with Russia and are reducing their support for Europe. I can give you some quotes here. Some representatives of the Trump administration are making it clear that they will not defend the Baltic states and are expressing concern about the risk of a conflict escalation in the event of NATO deploying missiles capable of striking deep into Russian territory, the article says. It is also mentioned there that Trump administration canceled the planned deployment of units equipped with the Tomahawk cruise missiles in Germany, and is delaying fulfilling of Germany's own order for Tomahawk missiles. Well, I don't know what to make of it. It's a Trump administration, isn't it? And when it comes to Trump's administration, by the way, all day the way we can characterize them is that they are all despicable human beings, liars, right? None of them can be taken seriously. And they're basically same goes for Western ruling class, generally speaking, right? There is not even a single decent human being there. So among elites, right? So so therefore, I think this is a more like a propaganda, isn't it? What you think about it, difference? Is economist is saying truth, and the Trump's administration is really wants to, or American ruling class, let's say, who is behind Trump and this team, are they really want to avoid escalation with Russia? If they wanted to avoid escalation with Russia, why they are still providing weapons to Kyiv regime? Why they still are providing intelligence, flight path, targeting data, all the rest? Why? So whenever I hear this kind of stuff that Washington wants to de-escalate with Moscow and blah blah blah, I think this is deception and this is lie. What Washington wants to do, what American class or Western ruling class wants to do, is to focus U.S. on the global South, on China, right, on the Middle East and China, and focus Europe on Russia. So they want U.S. to fight their war against Middle East and China, and Europe to fight this war of globalists against Russia. That's what is going on. That's all, man. And American ruling class is quite happy, I think, if Europeans will fight this war, and they will continue to sell. They will continue to sell weapons as long as there is anybody left in Ukraine that can use these freaking weapons, right? That's all. Also, by the way, confrontation continues, escalation continues between Poland and the Kyiv regime. I don't know if Western media is reporting about it or not, or world media, if they even pay attention to this. But I pay attention to it because I think this is important. It will have a historical consequences, this escalation between Poland and Ukraine. And now we have this report that the issue of a Volyn tragedy could become a criteria for Ukraine's progress on the path to the European Union, due to policies and the principal stand of Polish ruling class. And when it comes to Volyn tragedy, of course, this is about mass killing of dozens of thousands of Polish ethnic Poles by Ukrainian Nazis during the Second World War. Volyn is an area where mostly these large-scale massacres took place, right? And Volyn, Galicia, and Poland, Polish ruling class, clearly is an offensive now. Clearly is an offensive for quite a while. Right? They were coming to this point slowly but surely, and now they are clearly full on offensive against Ukraine, and they are actively preparing their own public, and they are actively preparing their militaries to basically reclaim former Eastern Poland territories of former Eastern Poland that makes about 70% of modern Western Ukraine. When order comes, right? When time is right, according to Polish elites, and they are now beginning to involve their European institutions also in this campaign against Ukraine. So it is reported that an amendment to the report on Ukraine's European integration has been introduced to European Parliament, which proposes to directly link the topic of Volyn with the process of Kyiv's accession to the European Union. The initiative came from the European People's Party, which includes representatives of Poland's ruling coalition. If the amendment is supported, this will be the first time a historical dispute between Kyiv and Warsaw will be officially included in an assessment of negotiations on Ukraine's membership in the EU. And of course, I don't believe that Ukraine will ever join EU or NATO. This is total nonsense, right? This is just a talking point in the West, not happening. But What will definitely happen is a war between Poland and Ukraine. That's inevitable, and it's only a matter of time when Polish troops and security services will try to reclaim this 70% of Western Ukraine that used to be Poland before Second World War, and Stalin just took it, right? Including cities like Lvov and Rona and rest, right? Stalin just took it and gave it to this creation of Bolsheviks that Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic was. Ukraine never existed in the past, right? It was created as a quasi-state entity by the Bolsheviks, right? And in my personal opinion, those Bolsheviks that initiated the creation of the Ukraine were working for British and German secret services. That is Lenin too, by the way. I think Lenin was either useful idiot for German secret services or paid asset of German secret services. Either way, he was a traitor of the Russia and Russian people, the Russian Empire. That's for sure. That cannot be disputed, by the way, right? So Lenin created this entity, Ukraine, and even though Stalin was the next generation, right? Stalin cannot be associated with the crimes that Lenin committed and Lenin's henchmen, right? Stalin was different generation, I would argue. And Stalin, if Stalin was doing something, he was trying to, well, maintain and build the country. And he did, by the way, right? He did. Although in process, of course, while Ukraine was already existing, then, well, he took territory from Poland, and instead of giving it to Russia, and in that case, those territories would be exclaves, like Kaliningrad region is an exclave right now. Stalin took and gave this territory to Ukraine, and then Stalin didn't stop there. He took Transcarpathia region from Czechoslovakia, and also gave it to this creation of Bolsheviks, Ukraine, and it is worth noticing that Transcarpathia before First World War was a part of Hungary, right? And that's why Hungary will eventually reclaim that territory. And Stalin didn't stop there too, and he went after Romania, Nazi ally, by the way, right? During the Second World War, Romania was Nazi ally, and hundreds of thousands of Romanian troops were exterminated by Red Army on the battlefield. And so Stalin went after Romania too and took a lot of territories. Some territories were given to Ukraine, and on some other territories, Stalin created Moldova. That also never existed before, right? So that's a short excurse into relatively recent history there. And so Poland, of course, gonna reclaim, man. Poland gonna reclaim for its former territories, and they are preparing and beginning to involve little by little European institutions too. Although this does not make globalists happy, man. These moves by Polish elites definitely enraged globalists, I think, because, and I will tell you why in a minute. But for now, this reminder that I mentioned yesterday also, that Polish officials, high-ranking officials, are beginning to use terminology like Eastern Lesser Poland while talking about Western Ukraine. And in vocabulary, this kind of words, this kind of phrases are coming not randomly. This is a political statement when high-ranking officials are using this language, right? And this is a clear message what is about to come. And yesterday I shared with you information that head of chancellery of a Polish president, for example, characterized Western Ukraine as Eastern Lesser Poland, right? While talking about this glorification of Nazism and the fascism in Ukraine. And the president of Poland, Nawrocki, also uses the same designation. And it's worth noticing that Nawrotsky was using this designation even before he became president of Poland. He was calling Western Ukraine Malopolska. That's how it sounds in Polish, I guess, right? Eastern Lesser Poland. Clearly indication what is about to come. And when it comes to this escalation between Warsaw and why only 70 people are online, by the way? Out of 30, I almost say out of 75,000. Unfortunately, we are far away from 75,000 on YouTube, but out of how many of us out there in the community? Like 35, 37,000, and only 70 people online. That's quite upsetting. I should stop making these live streams on YouTube, by the way, and fully focused on Rumble. Anyways, and I'm not blaming community, by the way. If you're not gonna receive notification, how you gonna know? You're not gonna know, right? That Levon has a live stream now and needs community support. No one gonna knows. And therefore, I'm even more grateful to you, dear friends, to all of you, for sparing your time and sharing your time and joining this live stream. And so, when it comes to this escalation between Poland and Kiev, there was a promise made by Warsaw that they're going to transfer to Kiev MiG-29 fighter jets, right? That are already retired from Polish Air Force. And well, due to the latest escalation, Poland decided that they're gonna scrap these planes. Yeah, instead of giving it planes to Kiev regime, they're gonna destroy these planes. Reuters, for example, reports that Poland has definitively refused to hand over its MiG-29s to Ukraine, and the jets will instead be scrapped. Good, by the way, right? Of course, I feel sorry for the planes themselves. Anyone who likes the military aviation will be saddened to hear that legendary plane is going to end up in the scrapyard. But that's the best way. If alternative is these planes to end up in the hands of Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists, then send those planes to scrapyard. And we are talking about more than a dozen MiG-29s that Poland promises to destroy now, instead of giving it to Kiev regime. And dear friends, with this escalation, not everybody is happy in the West with this escalation of Warsaw with Kiev, because globalists understand that Poland is preparing ground to reclaim former Polish territory from Western Ukraine, and globalists are afraid that Poland just might become maybe too ambitious and too loosely controllable for them, right? And I think they will try to deter Poland, to keep Poland in check, right? And this report is part of the process that already, I guess, has begun from the globalist side. And no surprisingly, it's a British media outlet that is reporting about it. And London is, or British ruling class is a major force in this globalist club, right? So Telegraph reports that Washington has warned Poland about a possible increase in tensions in the coming month, and has also presented series of possible scenarios for developments of events. Among the described options are drone attacks on critical infrastructure facilities, including power stations, as well as simulation of strikes to test the readiness of Polish air defense systems. And of course, according to Telegraph, these attacks are going to come from Russia. And I think Polish elites know perfectly well that Russia don't really want any war with Poland, any war with anybody, especially with Poland, by the way, right? If anything, I think Russian ruling class will consider assisting Poland to require to reunite with their eastern lesser Poland, right, in exchange of a corridor in the Suwalki Gap to link Kaliningrad region with Belarus. I think in Moscow and in Poland also, in Warsaw too, at least some people among leaders understand that despite overall hostility towards each other, there is a prospect of a cooperation there, right? And I don't know how this might play out, but there is a probability or possibility, let me say, that in exchange for a corridor, little corridor, maybe kilometer wide corridor, nothing extraordinary, in the Suwalki Gap area to link Kaliningrad region with Belarus, Russia will assist Poland in some ways, maybe even militarily, to deal with Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists in Western Ukraine when Polish forces and security services will try to reclaim these territories, because they will need assistance, man. Unlike badly beaten, but nevertheless still battle-capable formations of the Kiev regime, battle-tested, battle-experienced formations of the Kiev regime, Polish armed forces have no experience, right? And they're going to struggle, by the way, even to fight, even with this badly beaten by Russian militaries, Kiev regime's forces. They will need assistance. And no NATO country can actually help them, because no NATO country actually has battle-capable troops, man. Not even US. Nothing to be said about Europe, right? So there is a possibility there of potential cooperation between Warsaw and Moscow, right, in the foreseeable future. I see this possibility, and I think will be better if both capitals, Moscow and Warsaw, will focus on that more. Is there any risk that Russia might strike back on Poland as a retaliation for Polish involvement in this war against Russia? Yes, there is such possibility. This might happen if the Russian president will greenlight Russian security service and militaries to restore deterrent with the collective West. One of the directions where Russian missiles and drones might fly is going to be Poland too, I guess, right? After all, one of the major logistical hub that is used to supply weapons to Kiev regime is located in Poland. So therefore, sorry, you wanted it, right? So you will get it now. But even then, even so, I'm 100% convinced Polish elites know perfectly well there is no desire in Russia to fight with Poland, to be engaged in a war with Poland, open full-scale war, because what for? I mean, can anybody say what for? Should we fight each other? I mean, honestly, what for? So therefore, of course, Russia has every right to retaliate, and might retaliate, but that's secondary. That's secondary, right? Number one is that there is a prospect of cooperation between Warsaw and Moscow. That will benefit both. Poland not gonna lose much if it will give up land corridor from Kaliningrad region to Belarus, right? And instead, if Poland will receive Russian assistance, right, to reclaim this massive area, by the way, this massive area, some 70%, if not more, of Western Ukraine, including Lvov city, by the way, right? That by many still to nowadays are considered to be a Polish city. So therefore, this is clearly signal that globalists are annoyed by Polish escalation with their Kiev regime, and they are already working on the plans to deter Poland. And that's why they are publishing this nonsense that, well, Russia might attack, and Russia this and Russia that. Yes, Russia might attack if as a retaliation, but Russia has no intention to go full all-out war with Poland, because we don't need that, right? We just don't need that, man. And Poles know this. They know this, right? And if we will conduct some retaliatory strikes, let's say, on NATO member states that are engaged in this war against Russian people, among them Poland too, everybody in Poland will understand that, well, that's a retaliation, by the way, right? Poland was running this massive logistical hub on its territory for years, right? To supply weapons to Kiev regime's forces. And basically Poland was actively engaged in this war against Russia. They lost a lot of their citizens in this war, citizens that were fighting alongside Kiev regime. Everyone knows everything, but nevertheless, there is no appetite, neither in Russia, neither in Poland, I think, for all-out war. And so this type of reports in British propaganda only indicates that globalists are going after Polish elites, man, to keep them in check. Let's see, man. Let's see how successful globalism is going to be, how successful London is going to be to deter Poland, because their ambitions there are growing, man, with their increase in economical capabilities of Poland. And Poland was, by the way, most successful country in the EU ever, right? Poland used and abused EU membership and their EU countries in ways that probably no one ever expected. And Poland built up its economy, for which EU member states paid for, right? Very clever policies, by the way, from Warsaw. We have to, credit should be given when it's deserved, and Polish elites played very well when it comes to their relationships with their European countries there. But now, when Polish economy is standing strong, of course, ambitions of Polish people and also Polish elites also are increasing, and I don't think they're gonna give up on a dream that many have there to reunite this eastern Lesser Poland with the mainland Poland. So London might fail to deter Polish ruling class, man. Same time, this escalation that Poland is initiating now from a Western frontier, let's say, and Poland is not alone. Other countries are joining Polish ranks from Central and Eastern Europe. Well, Zelensky is becoming more and more afraid, more and more terrified that he might not be even able to run away from Ukraine. Well, lately, if you take a look at how this creature looks like, clearly, I mean, he's terrified. You can read it on his freaking face, right? Not surprisingly, exactly these days, Zaluzhny, former head of Kiev regime's armed forces, general staff, make it clear, according to media outlets, to Zelensky himself in the face that he's gonna run for a presidency when elections gonna take place. So Zelensky is definitely cornered, and these attacks from Poland and Polish allies, let's say, in Central and Eastern Europe, also attacks from Western Europe too, in some ways, by the way. I mean, French media is openly blaming Zelensky's regime for terrorist attack on Monaco. This is a big deal, right? Yes, Zelensky is still under protection still to these days, under the protection of London, but, well, only so much London can do, right? If all the other groups in this globalist club will get unite around a certain topic, then London not going to be able to deter all of them, right? And that's what is going on right now. Just recently, Vatican went after London. Now, French media outlets openly blaming Zelensky for terrorist attacks in Monaco, right? And on this topic, dear friends, on this topic, we have update today. According to media reports, citizen of Ukraine, this person, citizen of Ukraine, Anastasia Berezovskaya, is on a wanted list for conducting this terrorist attack, for bringing this explosive material in Monaco to the place where detonation happened. And yes, French is going after Zelensky's regime. They are, big names in French media, like Figaro, are pointing fingers at him, right? And Zelensky is threatened. Zelensky is threatened, by the way. He thinks probably that his days are numbered, and he might be very correct on that. But he wants to hang up to power as long as he can, still, because I guess at this point he thinks the only way for his personal safety, physical safety, is to stay in power as long as he can. And that's why I guess he stated that all politicians in Ukraine, and first of all, the statement is for Zaluzhny, should remember that there are going to be no elections in Ukraine in 2026. There was a lot of rumors that maybe in autumn there will be elections in Ukraine, presidential elections. He made it clear that no, there are going to be no elections, and Zaluzhny can chill out there in London, where he serves as a Ukraine's ambassador, right? So very interesting developments are happening, by the way. Very interesting developments in Ukraine and around Ukraine, right? And especially when it comes to a Polish-Ukrainian dialogue, let's say, right? Poles are on offensive, man. Poles are on offensive, and I think there is a possibility that some pragmatic people in Warsaw and Moscow, despite their mutual hate of each other, let's say, right? But pragmatic people might contact each other and say, you know what? Let's agree on something, right? Poland might ask Russia for assistance with the western Ukraine when time is right, when Poland will make its move, and in exchange, Poland will give up. Not necessarily peacefully, by the way, right? There was in history a lot of stories, right? When some short-term military campaigns were even fought, when leaders of two sides pre-planned everything up front. So there might be agreement between Moscow and Kiev. Poland might not be able to give up corridor from Kaliningrad to Belarus like openly, like that okay, take it. Maybe there will be some sort of short military operation there or something like that. And in exchange, Poland might receive assistance that will be very helpful for them to deal with Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists in the Western Ukraine. Because this area is, of course, much more important, by the way, than for Poland than Suwalki Gap. What Poland gonna lose if corridor is given to Russia? Either politically, or if Poland will give up on this territory after short military action. What they gonna lose? Border with their freaking Lithuania? Come on, man. Poles do they really want to border with the freaking Lithuania? And does that border worth more than this Eastern Lesser Poland? Nah. So some very interesting stuff, man. There, some very interesting stuff. And before I continue, well, 19 people on the live stream now. Good. Maybe we can reach 100. Can we reach 100? Will be nice, man. After all, there is like 37,000 members in the community, and only 90 people online, 91. Come on, man. Uh, YouTube is effed up, man, big time. Messed. Anyways, dear friends, sir. Let me now take a little minute break to basically for new potential new members of our community highlight that this project that you see, the one who does the opinion project, media project, whatever it is, man, exists only as long as I have your support. And it's all about news and my personal opinions, right? That's what it is. It says in its name what this project is all about: news and opinions, right? My opinions, your opinions, we are free to exchange opinions. So if you like my work, dear friends, if you want and can help me to maintain this project and stay full-time focused on this work, please consider to support. You can do it through several means. Best way to support is, of course, to subscribe to my Patreon page or page on Boosty. You can choose your level of support there. It starts from $5 a month, and then you can choose your level that you can afford. Links to my Patreon and Boosty are under this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And you can donate to this channel, by the way, of course, through PayPal also. And during the streams, by the way, you can donate either through Super Chat on the Rumble channel or by this premium subscription gift card. You can purchase this, you can buy as many as you want, those premium subscription gift cards, and either give it to someone or just to keep it, right? Either way, every time you buy these gift cards, premium subscription gift cards on Rumble, it's a $5 donation to this project. And you can buy subscription gift cards on my Patreon also, by the way, right? You can buy subscription gift cards and either give it to someone or keep it. It will count as a donation anyways, right? And let me now drop link, dear friends, in YouTube chat. This is my Rumble channel. In case you have Rumble channel. If you have a Rumble channel, subscribe to my subscribe if you can. So okay, that's it, I guess, when it comes to this little breaker announcement or promotion of my own channel. And so yes, many thanks to everybody, dear friends, whoever supported and continues to support. Thank you all. That's been said, let's continue with some are you talking about special notifications? This question is for me, NSPK. If it's addressed to me, then I don't know. YouTube and Rumble barely sends any notifications to anybody, right? Maybe some people, 0.001% of people are getting notifications, but majority didn't. And whoever I know, by the way, in personal life that are subscribed to my channel, whenever I ask, do you receive notifications? They all say no. So, but I can see sometimes comments in the chat that there are some people that actually receive at least time to time notifications. But yeah. I just see it appear suddenly on my feeder video. That is, I guess. Uh, at least you can see in your feed the video, right? Many people probably don't even see when they open either Rumble or the YouTube. They just don't see my channel there, and that is that. You have to search Levan Gudadze opinion to find the channel, and then just on the channel itself find the video that you might be interested in. I mean, latest ones, right? And dear friends, also a reminder that on Patreon and Boosty I have this yearly updates, right? It's a third week now. Every morning, if there is no technical some issues, I have an update, first update on my Patreon and Boosty. And so that might be also something that you might be interested in. Additional reason to subscribe there. And I'm quite often I'm making like short clips, first 10-15 minutes of that video on Patreon and Boosty, and publishing on YouTube as an advertising, kind of, right? So maybe someone will say, you know what, well, this short video was interesting, maybe rest of it is also interesting, let's go on Patreon, subscribe, and watch and have the access to the entire show. Anyways, too much of a break. Let's continue with some other news, and a lot is left, man. A lot of news is left. As of now, I was mostly sharing some positive news plus also interesting news. Now, unfortunately, I have to continue with the negative news, although important news, nevertheless, news that definitely deserves our attention. And well, I'm talking about which way is better, by the way, when I'm small, like in a corner, or when I'm on a bigger screen. I don't know. Should I leave it like this, as it is now, or like this? I don't know. Anyways, let's go through this news now. According to Russian Defense Ministry, past night, Russian Air Defense Forces intercepted 155 enemy drones that were launched by Kyiv regime with assistance of NATO countries. Drones were intercepted over the territories of Tver, Tula, Smolensk, Kaluga, Belgorod, Bryansk, Kursk, Rostov regions, Krasnodar Krai, Moscow region, Republic of Crimea, and over the waters of Azov and the Black Sea. Significant drop in the number of drones that Kyiv regime launched past night, and maybe and probably this is the case. This drop is related to recent Russian large-scale retaliatory strikes on Kyiv and other directions, on the military-industrial complex, on warehouses, and so on, where these drones were either assembled, where there either assembly lines were for these drones that are shipped from their NATO countries, or where already prepared the drones were stored, right? But drop is significant because day before, Russian Air Defense Forces intercepted their 300-400 drones, something like that, right? But of course, eventually, number of these launches will increase, maybe even this night, because there is a constant flow, constant shipment of these drones, disassembled drones from the west to Kyiv-controlled territory, where it's not that difficult to create assembly lines, right? Anywhere you want, and therefore, I'm afraid soon these drones that are launched to strike deep into Russia, all again gonna be in hundreds, 200, 300, 400 at night time, and somewhat similar number daytime. Only way we can actually, Russia can actually deal with these long range attacks in a very significant way is to restore deterrent with the collective West, because most of these drones are coming from collective West, right? They are built in the collective West. It's produced in the collective West. So until we restore the deterrent with the collective West, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drones going to be launched against Russia on daily basis, and I'm afraid soon also dozens of missiles. RIA Novosti is reporting that as a result of these long-range attacks, 91 settlements were left without electricity in the Kherson region. Well, unfortunately, many regions of the Russian Federation are facing some energy issues, right? In some cases, it's electricity. In some cases, it's fuel, especially gasoline. And I say especially gasoline because look at this report, dear friends. Russian oil companies have, even though have sharply reduced maritime export of a diesel fuel, export still continues. Export still continues. For the week of June 2022-2028, export of a previous week, basically, right? Or week before. Today is the 3rd, isn't it? So from 22nd to 28th of June, export of lighter oil products from Russian ports failed by 40% to 23,000 tons per day. So even though there is a significant decrease in diesel exports, let's say, export is still happening. And you know why is that? Because with diesel, there is not that much of an issue in Russia. There are not that much of shortages, right? Gasoline is a different story. Gasoline is a different story. Unfortunately, when it comes to gasoline, many regions, more and more regions actually, still more and more regions are facing some serious shortages, and in some situations, in some cases, situation is so bad that well, gas stations are basically shut down due to lack of fuel. For example, we have reports today that authorities of Novorossiysk, Russian port on the Black Sea, announced the lack of fuel at the gas stations. According to administration, gasoline is dispensed exclusively with their fuel cards and exclusively to special vehicles. And even then, only at those cars, on those gas stations with which organizations have signed the contracts. At the moment, there is no gasoline at the gas stations. Refueling is carried out only with the fuel cards. So when it comes to gasoline, by the way, unfortunately, many Russian regions are facing shortages, facing issues. In some cases, it's a very significant shortages. In some cases, it's a minor inconvenience, right? When you only can get like 20, 30 liters of gasoline a day, right? Or at once, let's say, right? Maybe you can go on one gas station, buy 20, 30 liters, and then go on another gas station, buy another 20, 30 liters if you want. But yes, gasoline is an issue. Gasoline is an issue. With diesel, situation is much better, which is extremely important, dear friends, because of course diesel fuel mostly is used in agricultural field, in agricultural sector, right? And of course, Russia is a breadbasket for this world, and no one should want Russia to have issues when it comes to harvest of food, right? All sorts of goods in Russian agriculture, because if Russia is unable to export food, that means millions, tens of millions of people are going to have problems with the food. But yet again, unfortunately, situation with this energy crisis that we are facing is still very much relevant, right? And is very much difficult, unfortunately. But no one should think, dear friends, no one should think that because of some gasoline shortages and stuff, they're going to be divided in a society and some internal destruction or something like that, or society going to blow up or something. No, none of it going to happen, man. Yeah, people are hungry. I am hungry, right? People are frustrated. More and more people are demanding our deterrent to be restored with the collective West, because everyone understands without direct involvement of NATO member states in this war against Russia, special military operation would not last beyond 2022. We all know this, right? We all absolutely know this. And people want deterrent with the collective West to be restored by any means, right? Can you do it with the conventional weapons? Do it with conventional weapons, while teaching the Western ruling class lesson, right? Where their place is. Can you do it through political means? Even better, do it with the political, diplomatic means. But if that is impossible and conventional weapons also won't cut, then for God's sake, man, you have 6,000 nuclear warheads, right? Do something about it. One way or another, by any means, but restore freaking deterrent. And let's finish this war, man. That's what people are talking about, right? That's what people want. You know? That's it, man. No one is thinking here in Russia that, oh, you know, I don't have a freaking gasoline, and then we are losing, or some shit like that. No one thinks that way, man. People are hungry. I don't give a damn about freaking fuel, man. Why this war is going on for this long, man? When we should finish it in 2022. Only this war is going on so long only because we are exercising this freaking restraint policy, right? And inviting upon us more and more trouble, because with restraint policy, we are emboldening Western elites to further escalate, right? And why we are doing this? Are we freaking suicidal or masochists, or what the hell is wrong with us? You know, what's up? So no one is panicking. No one thinks that, oh, we lost because there is some freaking gasoline shortages. No, man, people are hungry. People are hungry. Everyone understands deterrent has to be restored by any means necessary. And if diplomatic means won't cut, if retaliatory strikes with conventional weapons won't cut, you know what? Putin once said, man, Putin himself once said publicly on tape that if there is no Russia, why would we need this war? He said it, right? But if Russia is, an interpretation of his words can be that, you know, if Russian existence is in danger, then why on earth we would care about the rest of the world, man? Honestly, why would we? Or why should we? If there is no Russia, then why we care, man? And clearly, Western ruling class are trying as much as they can to threaten the existence of Russia. Correct? So leadership definitely has to do something, man. Leadership definitely has to do something about it. And if people are hungry because of this restraint policy. And how much Western ruling class was allowed to do, by the way, and was tolerated. That's what makes people hungry, man. Not this freaking gasoline shortages. And one should also keep in mind that, of course, it's an issue, by the way. I'm not downgrading nothing. It's inconvenience. In some cases, it might be very inconvenient. In some other cases, people might say, you know what, I have two cars in the family, right? One is on gasoline, another one is on diesel. So I mean, I will use just this one, right? That on a diesel, there is no much issues with the diesel, right? But that's all something that can be dealt, right? It is unfortunate that people are facing these challenges, but it's not end of the world, correct? But what is very important, all these vehicles, right, trucks that are engaged in logistics, most of them are using either gas, either natural gas, by the way, right? Either diesel fuel. And that means that even though price of logistics and deliveries will go up eventually, inevitably, because whenever there is any crisis, prices usually go up, because that's what business does, right? They use any opportunity to increase prices. But nevertheless, those prices not going to go as crazy higher, so much so that all the goods, right, will inflate in prices like 20, 30, or 50%. As of now, at least, when I'm doing shopping, by the way, in the grocery stores, I don't really see unusual hike in the prices. I just don't notice any unusual hike in prices. And by the way, I'm an ordinary citizen, right? So I notice when prices go up. If I was rich, maybe I would not care if something was like 200 rubles yesterday and today is 400 rubles. But I would notice that, because it's a big difference for me. Anyways, hopefully Moscow will stop messing around with this restraint policy, and will go ahead with whatever steps are needed to restore the terrain with the collective West. And then it would not take too long before we will finalize special military operation. But as of now, of course, Western ruling class feels free to attack Russia, to do whatever they want, and that's what they do. And long-range attacks are happening on a daily basis. And today we have reports, unfortunately, that Belgorod was targeted with the missiles again. Many sources reported that it was a missiles, not a drones. Michurinsk thermal power plant was struck, and you can see this thick smoke that is rising from the area, which was struck. And unfortunately, during this attack, at least one civilian was killed on the spot. And when it comes to this long-range attacks on the Russian Federation and basically terrorist activity of the Kyiv regime and its NATO backers, there was another tragedy, by the way, that happened in the Zaporozhye region. 5 people were killed, 5 civilians were killed when Ukrainian drones struck a market in the Tokmak city in the Zaporozhye region on this land bridge that connects Crimea with the mainland Russia. So this is this land bridge that connects Crimea with mainland Russia, and this is Tokmak, by the way, in middle of this, not in middle, in almost in the middle, yes, of this bridge, let's say. And this is Tokmak. This is an area which was targeted marketplace. 5 people were killed, and 24 people were injured as a result of this yet another terrorist attack committed by Kyiv regime and orchestrated by NATO member states. 3 civilians were killed also in the Zaporozhye region overnight as a result of also drone attack orchestrated by NATO member states. Also, Ukrainian armed forces and their NATO backers targeted another bus linked to Belarus. And again, there was a casualties. No one died. As of now, there is no reports that there was a death on the bus as a result of this attack, but 2 drivers of the bus, and also passengers of the bus, several passengers of the bus were injured. Probably Minsk will make some statements about yet another attack on Belarusian civilian bus. Also, when it comes to this terrorist activity of Kyiv regime and its Western backers, car carrying employees of the Rilsky district administration was blown up by mine. This happened in the Kursk region of the Russian Federation. Governor of the Kursk region, Alexander Hishstein, reported several people were injured, and Well, I already reported earlier, dear friends, that Kyiv regime and its NATO backers, they are dropping mines all over the place from the drones. Anti-personnel mines, mostly, and all sorts of explosive devices. On the country roads, in the parks, in the squares, just about everywhere, right? They can reach. They are dropping these mines to increase casualties among civilians. First and foremost, among civilians, right? Because anti-personnel mine not gonna do nothing, literally nothing, if infantry fighting vehicle or tank will go over it, right? It's nothing for a tank, but if a passenger car goes over it, it might cause significant destruction, right? If someone steps on it, it might cause significant destruction. And you understand Russian military, they are not marching around, right, in the massive groups on these country roads or the parks or the squares. This is their intention. This is a terror campaign of Britain against Russia, right? It's their tactics, by the way. I'm quite sure this idea of dropping mines all over their place is an idea of British militaries and British intelligence, MI6. Because that's how they operate, by the way. They don't care about civilian casualties. They never did, right? These are mentally ill maniacs. All of them, by the way, right? And should be exterminated, of course. It's their idea. And if Russian president will decide that it is time to retaliate on these NATO member states, I hope, man, I really hope there will be strikes on British militaries and British intelligence staff, man. I hope as many of those motherfucking animals will be killed as possible, man, right? Because they all are Russian enemies of Russian people. All of them are enemies of Russian people forever and cannot be forgiven for crimes that they committed. Ever. And when it comes to casualties among Russian civilians, dear friends, and sometimes some members of our community are kind of surprised that I'm getting angry and emotional. And, in one hand, I can understand why those people don't understand me and my emotions because they don't care, right? They might pretend they care, but they don't because it's not their fellow countrymen that is being killed, right, in mass. So, if they are not extremely extreme empaths, right? They don't really know what Russian people feel, Russian people think about all of this stuff. And look at this report, dear friends. Radion Miroshnik, high-ranking Russian diplomat, shared some statistics about casualties among Russian civilians this year and since the beginning of special military operations, since 2022. And you think how many civilians were killed and wounded? Unbelievable number, Bob. So many people were killed and wounded by these Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists and their NATO backers. Let me give you some specifics on that. Ukrainian armed forces attacks, NATO attacks actually, killed 422 Russian civilians and wounded more than 2,500 others between April and June 2026. This is just April and June 2026 border. Right? Over their 91 days of their second quarter of this year, at least 3,000 civilians suffered from criminal and terrorist actions by Kyiv militants and the NATO backers. I will add from myself. 422 of whom were died. This represents more than 76% increase compared to previous quarter, or 1,315 more civilians killed and wounded, Miroshnik said at the briefing. And I think you are interested to know how many civilians were killed and wounded since the beginning of special military operation. I can give you, information about too. Also from Radion Miroshnik, ambassador at large of the Russian Foreign Ministry. Since February 2022, attacks by Ukrainian armed forces, I will add, orchestrated, conducted with direct involvement of NATO member states, killed nearly 8,500 civilians. 8,500 civilians in Russia and injured 22,500. We are talking about civilians, but children, women, elderly, mostly civilians. From February 2022 to June 30, 2026, the number of victims has already reached 30,913 people, of whom almost 8,400, almost 8,500 were killed, 8,434 to be precise for the moment when Miroshnik shared this information. But unfortunately, today this number is significantly higher because I already reported to you that just in Zaporozhye region, 8 people were killed in past 12 hours as a result of these terrorist attacks. Can you imagine what US will do if Russia or China orchestrated coup d'etat in, I don't know, Mexico or Canada, by the way, right? Implemented a quasi-regime there, puppet regime, and then start launching and if start endangering the US, right? Would US react on it? Of course it would. How US would react if they will lose thousands and thousands of civilians killed and tens of thousands of civilians injured? What US would do to Canada or to Mexico, by the way? Honestly, man, they will erase those countries from the face of the earth. Am I correct? They would not exercise no fucking restraint for 4 or 5 years. No, man, they will erase either of these countries, by the way, from face of the earth with the nuclear weapons straight away. Am I correct? Am I correct? And then someone will criticize me. How dare you are saying that, if necessary, nuclear weapons should be deployed? What are you talking about? How many of Russian citizens are going to die? How many Russian citizens, civilians, have to die? Deployment of all the necessary means to restore deterrent with the collective has to be justified. I can understand why Westerners would say, no, Russia should continue to exercise restraint, because those Westerners are living in countries that are directly involved and guilty of mass killings of the Russian citizens, and they objectively don't want their countries to be struck, right, with Russian retaliatory strikes. So one can understand they are coming from. But why on earth, if I understand they are coming from, why they don't even try to understand I am coming from? Or many other people here in Russia, majority I will say, that are on the very same page. That if we can restore deterrent with the diplomatic means, good, man, let's do this. If diplomacy will not work, if it's too late for that, if we can restore deterrent with conventional weaponry, then let's do this right now. But if conventional weapons also will not cut because the situation is just too bad, right? It just went too far, then use nukes, for God's sake. Let's do this, man. After all, we have freaking plenty of it, more than any other country out there. But let's restore deterrence so that our civilians will not die like this, right? When Western elites that are guilty of death of these civilians are laughing at all of us. Is that difficult to understand? Why people here in Russia are outraged and angry and frustrated. Let's continue, dear friends. Let's continue with some other news. And well, this is crazy story. By the way, you know, either this week or past week, I reported that Estonian foreign minister kind of demanded from from Netflix to drop Russian cartoon Masha Masha and the Bear, because Estonia was considering this cartoon to be um, like soft power of Russian propaganda, right, and that kind of stuff. And I reported about it, and I said straight away, you know what, Estonian leadership, I mean, they known since forever basically to be inadequate, right? They were annoying everybody around them for centuries, right? So no one really expects Estonian elites, Estonian leadership ever to be normal, right? Ever to be adequate. Same goes for, I mean, all of them, man. Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Finland too, right? Finland too, by the way. I mean, during the Soviet U.S. Cold War, Finland was a neutral, and that gave them opportunity to have a more or less normal people out there, right? And Finland enjoyed, benefited greatly with this neutrality. At one point, it was a practically ideal country for living, but now, as one of the members of our community recently shared information, unemployment rate is at like 20 point something percent in Finland, all because of their crazy policies in relation to Russia. And I remind you, dear friends, Finland was a Swedish colony, right? And Swedes were treating Finns worse than they were treating freaking animals, man. Honestly, just check it out, right? Don't take my word for it. Check it in history books, right? Swedes were treating Finnish people worse than they were treating freaking animals, man. And you know who freed Finnish people from Swedish domination and from Swedish terror? Russia did. Russian people freed them. And Finland was a part of Russian Empire, right? And Finland enjoyed a greater deal of success and benefited greatly while being part of Russian Empire. And when these freaking Bolsheviks orchestrated revolution and overthrow emperor, they let Finland go, right? They let them just go. Those Bolsheviks were all about destroying Russia, man, I'm telling you. Early first generation of ones, right? I'm not talking about all of them, man, right? But these early ones, right? Ones that were leading the charge initially, they were very dodgy people, man, right? They clearly were working for Western secret services, man. In my personal opinion, they destroyed Russian Empire. They let Finland go away. Poland was a part of Russian Empire too, by the way. They let Poland go away. All the others, by the way, right? All the others on territory of Russia. Those Bolsheviks then created they gave up Russian territories, by the way, left and right. They created their Ukraine on the Russian territory. On the Russian territory, they created Ukraine, right? But what I want to say is that, I mean, I don't know, man. If anything, Finnish people should be grateful to Russia, at least for being in this world, man. At least because they still exist. And who knows? Maybe Swedes would kill them all, man. Maybe Swedes would exterminate them all if Russia did not help them. But anyways, that's their whole freaking history, right? No one expects from these Baltic entities adequacy, because they acted specifically throughout the history, right? And in the East, in the West, everybody knows what's up there, right? And even though, by the way, UK is leading Britain is leading this charge in terms of Russophobia and Russia hate. Honestly, man, I had very different take on UK. Nevertheless, I never expected British ruling class that I hate. By the way, I mean maybe not hate. Hate is a too strong a word, but I despise. Right? I think West British ruling class is a filth, literally filth. Right? Garbage. But nevertheless, I never expected they to fail as low as freaking Estonian elites. And they did. They did, by the way, right? And we have reports that, according to Guardian, British MPs demand the removal of a Russian animated series, Masha and the Bear, from the broadcast, considering it a tool of a soft power. Cartoon, by the way, good cartoon, nice cartoon, funny cartoon, right? You're gonna watch it with kids, you're gonna enjoy it, your kids gonna enjoy it. It's you're gonna smile, man, and that's all this cartoon is all about, right? To give you a smile, happiness for 5-10 minutes that this each series of this cartoon lasts, right? It's a good stuff, man, and that's why it is so popular worldwide. And now British so-called elites, by the way, want to designate cartoon just because it's Russian as a danger for British people, British kids, right? This good cartoon is a danger for British kids, but for same British kids, it's all okay to see all sorts of garbage LGBTQ propaganda, for example. That garbage is very much welcomed in modern UK, but anything normal is should be designated as a hostile and banned. That's where UK is, man. I truly never expected British elites to fail this freaking law to be on the same level as those fucking idiots in Estonian leadership. But they failed, man. An inter-party group of their guest parliament in the world, whatever that is, plus, has sent a letter to ministers expressing concerns that the children's cartoon contains unambiguous propaganda content. What propaganda content, man? What exactly? That Masha is annoying this bear, right? And this bear is a kind bear, right? And does not go mad on Masha despite being annoyed constantly. What's up, man? How one can fail this freaking law that they want to ban in UK in this particular case, that they want to ban this really good cartoon, by the way, right? Normal cartoon, while they are very much okay with their all sorts of garbage propaganda like LGBTQ propaganda and the rest of their freaking nonsense that very much welcomed in the Western world. How this can be, man? I don't know, but it is what it is, man. British people better wake up, man, until it's too freaking late, man. Wake up. And if you think British elites are freaking scumbags, and they are, of course, well, wait until you see German elites, man. Wait until you see this one's even worse, if that even possible, right? And we have update about Merz and his ratings. According to latest polls, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz support has plummeted to 13%, while 84% of Germans say they are dissatisfied with his work. At the same time, the leader of opposition party AfD, Alice Weidel, is twice as popular as Merz. Her work is approved by 27% of respondents, which is not bad, I guess, because she is just a party leader, right? She is not an official, not a chancellor, right? To have much of an impact on in the social fabric or economy or anything, really. But You know what? When I was reading this news, and I said about this during today's first update for Patreon and Boosty, what is extremely disappointing, dear friends, is that the most popular politician in Germany, you know who is most popular? Defense Minister Boris Pistorius. His popularity rating is 52%. And when I see this, I was kind of, I mean, what the hell? What the hell? Germans, what's going on there, man? What kind of mushrooms are you eating, people, or what are you smoking, or what's up with these 52% of people, man, in Germany? That they despise Merz, but they are all okay with another scumbag who pushes German people towards war with Russia, Boris Pistorius. I mean, I don't know, man. One have to have a very specific mindset, right? Or propagandized and brainwashed in very specific ways to come up with such a freaking nonsense, right? It's crazy. I don't know what globalists did to brains of majority in the Western countries, but they did something, man, bad. They clearly did, right? A couple of more news, and that's gonna be it, dear friends. Middle Eastern, some updates about Middle Eastern. It's Friday, isn't it? Thanks God, it's a Friday. So next is a Middle Eastern. Let me. Do you think I remember all this news? By the way, when I'm working preparing programs, sometimes I'm just forgetting what kind of news I have there. What kind of news I have bookmarked. Right, I have to read, man. Again. So what this news is about? The U.S. is trying to bribe Iran by unfreezing some of its assets, reports the Wall Street Journal. Publication writes that American side is trying to pursue the Islamic Republic to open the Strait of Hormuz, promising to unfreeze some of its frozen assets. But Tehran is not giving in. The military is responding with their new threats to ships passing through one of the world's busiest waterways, and one have to be total moron not to understand why would Iran act this way. Because with these taxes, tolls, or service fees, or whatever you're gonna call it, in the long run, Iran will make like million times more than freaking frozen assets that US holds. I mean, come on, man. America, those people that are in the ruling class in America are just that dumb, isn't it? They really are that stupid. Correct? Unbelievable. They are trying to bribe that, you know what, we will give you 2 billion and don't take no taxes. Goodness me, man. Goodness me. No wonder US, I mean, no wonder every single Western country is in free fall, man. Every single Western country is in a free fall, US included. Now there is a World Cup, isn't it, in US? This wannabe empire entity is unable to even host a World Cup in football. It's total disgrace, isn't it? I don't watch games themselves. I said, by the way, not interested in any sporting event that is organized by this extremely politicized so-called sporting federations, including FIFA, right? Total garbage, scumbags. But I read news that are coming from this championship, right? Which is simultaneously is going in three countries, right? US, Mexico, and Canada is also there, right? And people in US are quite shocked, man. Probably they never have seen any championship being as poorly organized as this one, especially when it comes to US segment. And what's up with these screenings, man? They terrorize the Iranian team, right? They basically steal the victory from Iranian team. I know that much. In one game, they stole victory from Iran. But yesterday I saw this video when Argentinians, right? Argentinian team was going through freaking screening. You are talking about freaking megastars on this planet. You think Messi gonna carry in his pocket what, man? 1 kilo of cocaine from Argentina? Why you are doing? Why you embarrassing your own country, man? Being this disrespectful to other human beings. I don't know, man. It's a total disgrace. It's a total freaking disgrace, man. And to somehow change the narrative, this flow of negativity about US and US organized US organization, they are paying people now to push this narrative that, oh, people are coming in US, they love it in here because hot dog is a fake, because we have hot dog and we have a freaking burgers, and propaganda is so dumb, man. Honestly, I have seen some of that freaking propaganda that US is pushing through media platforms that, well, look, how people are happy because we have hot dogs. Are you freaking crazy, man? Who gives a fuck about your hot dogs, man? Eat your hot dog and shut the fuck up. Goodness me, man. Hot dogs and burgers and fuck's sake, man. Unbelievable. No wonder, man, they are so dumb in the leadership of US that they think they're gonna bribe Iran with a couple of billions to give up on its positions, right? While Iran gonna make hundreds of billions of dollars, man, potentially trillions of dollars, directly and indirectly, with this control over their Strait of Hormuz. If, of course, strategical stability will be saved, maintained in the region, which is a big if, of course. And when it comes to inadequacy of the Western ruling class and their Zionist allies too, there is this report also from New York Times that Israel allegedly planned to assassinate top Iranian negotiators, Kalibaf and Darakchi, that is, right? And are you surprised, dear friends, to hear that Israel was planning to assassinate them? Of course, you are not surprised because basically they do this kind of stuff, right? Israelis assassinate often negotiators, people that they are engaged in negotiations with. Israelis basically assassinate whoever they want, whenever they want, and wherever they want. That's what they do, man, since the creation of Israel. And what is also interesting, there are also reports out there that Israelis were planning to assassinate also Pakistani negotiators, and allegedly Islamabad sent a clear message to Israel that if Pakistani leadership, Pakistani negotiators, or anybody there is harmed, Pakistan will nuke Israel. I mean, yet again, this is rumors that are circulating out there, or speculations, but yeah. Allegedly, situation between Pakistan and Israel went as far as to, exercise nuclear muscles. And Islamabad allegedly did exactly that. And nothing happened to either Iranian negotiators or Pakistani mediators. Meanwhile, Iran continues to build up on its success, tremendous diplomatic, political, military success that they achieved as of now, even though we'll understand that they're going to be next phase of war, by the way, late autumn, early winter, somewhere around that period of time. But as of now, Iran feels they have won, rightfully so, and they are building on the success, right? And they are improving relationships, strengthening the relationships with all the neighbors whenever it is possible. And the Basaracchi had a meeting with Amir Khan Motaki, foreign minister of Afghanistan, that was visiting Tehran, by the way. You can see a picture on your screen right there. Good, good, of course. Our location of Afghanistan, of course, tremendously important. Tremendously important. And, during the next phase of war that Western Nuclear is going to launch against Iran, I think American troops and the troops of their allies will face not just Iranian troops, but also many people that support Iran, including from Afghanistan. Nothing to be said about logistical lines that will operate non-stop and already are working, that connects Iran through Afghanistan with a number of Central Asian republics and also with Pakistan. Afghanistan is bordering China too, but their border is very tiny, and I don't think there is any significant logistical lines there on the border between basically China and Afghanistan. Could be, man. You know, Chinese can build anything anywhere, man. They are great at building. They are pulling off some unbelievable stuff, man, engineering vehicles. And so, yeah, maybe there is infrastructure, and I'm unaware of it. Either way, interesting developments there. Also, Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel commented on a possible U.S. invasion, and he said that in the event of an attack, Cuban people will respond with their unity, firmness, and their defense of our sovereignty. Understandable statements, right? But yet again, there were rumors, isn't it? There were rumors that either son or grandson of Raul Castro was engaged in some sort of negotiations with the American ruling class. And if that is true, by the way, I would not be surprised at all if something similar to Venezuela will be pulled off in Cuba also. Would not be surprised at all. And in Venezuela, by the way, it was a deal, clearly. Maduro and his regime made a deal with Washington, right? And for security guarantees and God knows what else U.S. promised them. Well, they give up on their own country. They betray their own people, right? And that is that. And if they were gonna say, you know, Maduro is in prison, so how this was a deal, and for God's sake, he's not killed, man. He is still alive. He has God knows how many millions, or how many dozens of millions, or how many possibly hundreds of millions of dollars somewhere out there, right? If not the billions, he might have a couple of billions even. He was long enough in power in this extremely oil-rich country. And, in several years, he's going to be free, man. So it definitely does looks like a deal. And so would not be surprised at all if something similar will be pulled off with in relationships with the Cuba, not necessarily exactly the same, but something on those lines, right? Some people in Cuba might fight, but most probably will not, I think, because people are tired, man. People are tired of all the stress that they are facing for decades, right? Venezuela was crushed by illegal US and Western sanctions and embargoes. Cuba is under this illegal pressure from the West since the revolution, basically. Generations grow up there that did not know what the life is without American sanctions, right? and embargo and stuff. So people are tired. So maybe some will fight if Americans pull off something like Venezuela in Cuba, but majority might say, you know what, what it is, man. We are just too freaking tired to do anything really. And in that case, yeah, US will just recolonize Cuba, and that is that. As they did with Venezuela, man. I still think it's only a matter of time, and some groups gonna emerge in Venezuela, some groups of real fighters, right? That will challenge U.S. colonial regime. But as of now, there is no such nothing seem like that is happening as of now. Also, Der Spiegel reports that U.S. has proposed turning Taiwan into wasp nest. According to publication, U.S. military intends to strengthen the defense of Taiwan by massively deploying unmanned systems. The head of the American Institute of Taiwan, Raymond Green, stated that the island needs to be turned into a wasp's nest of air, ground, and underwater drones. And well, China is, of course, monitoring the situation. They understand that drones are a big deal. And if it's ever come to a military action or war between China and Taiwan, I think Chinese will be ready to deploy means that will neutralize drone threats. EMP, by the way, right? EMP can do the job. And the question is how fast engineers will manage the process of miniaturization of the EMP so that you don't have to carry some freaking 10-ton stuff with you, right? To neutralize, to basically neutralize incoming targets in big squares of space up front of you, right? Or air, let's say, up front of you, to sterilize basically, right? Area around you in the air. And EMP can definitely do that. EMP can fry electric stuff, chips and so on in these drones, right? And well, if miniaturization is a long-term prospect, then there is always nuclear option. All you have to do is detonate nuclear weapons out there in the atmosphere, right? And that is that. You have an EMP that will cover, entire freaking island of Taiwan. One nuke may not be enough to fry all the electronics in Taiwan. Maybe 10 nukes will be necessary, or 20. It's a matter of mathematics, right? Really. Technically, it's doable. If there is no other means, you can detonate as many nukes as necessary over the certain area to fry literally all electronic stuff, including drones. So China can deal with this, man. China can deal with this. Western ruling class pays too much attention to these freaking drones, man. Whenever someone is coming up with a new weapon, there is always engineer that will come up with a counter weapon. That's how history works, right? And dear friends, I think this is it. I think this is it for now, right? I still have some news there, but it's already freaking 2 hours, right? This live stream, I'm a bit tired. There is no stimulus, by the way, to continue. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, there is no super chats on the Rumble, nothing on the Boosty, no new members on the Patreon. So I think 2 hours, almost 2 hours, will do, right? Okay, this is it for now. Thank you all Thank you all for your time. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Great upcoming weekend, and take care. Bye.